Hello and welcome to FireDEV, a fireside chat with people in the industry. Today I have Vladimir Salin with me. Thank you, Vlad, for joining me on the podcast today.
Yeah, thank you for inviting.
No problem at all. So, you work at WhatsApp. What do you do at WhatsApp?
Yeah, I'm a software engineer at WhatsApp. My kind of main area that I'm looking after is in-app support experiences, which is relatively new, I should say. I think if you're kind of using WhatsApp for quite some time, you notice that the product gets a bit more complex. We have more features added. This is especially the case for like some countries around the world where we have more complicated flows and features where users really struggle to understand how to work with, let's say, with payments, with business, like business messaging, business communications. So we also kind of considering the diversity of WhatsApp audience around the world, we realized that it's really, really important for us to kind of catch up with the support experiences in the app, not just providing ticket support, but also educate users, provide help in more accessible ways in different places, and kind of help users solve the problem where it began.
Yeah, so obviously everyone that's listening to the podcast has heard of WhatsApp. Probably everyone that's listening, has used it at some point. I know I use it a lot. So how does WhatsApp handle the immense amount of traffic it has? Because it is, an immense amount of traffic. It always seems to, be up and running. When I use it, I've personally never really had. I'm trying to think, but I don't think I've personally had ever any issues where I've launched the app and the app don't launch, or I'm trying to use it and I'm getting connection issues. I've had the odd time issues with Facebook.com, and even they've been rare. To be fair, Facebook's usually pretty good with, or Meta's now as it's called, good with keeping it up and running. But just talking about WhatsApp, how does he handle all of that? What's his strategy? And because it's doing something really well.
Yeah, I think that's actually a part of this, secret sauce of the company, in a way that I think, like in essence, this boils down to like three main ingredients: like simple, private, and reliable. So, like keeping things simple lets you focus on what's really important. So, I think the core messaging, VoIP, like calling, video calling, is really the key part of WhatsApp, as it was, like as it all started with just private messaging as well. Um, as product gets more complicated, again, as I mentioned, this becomes a bit trickier with obviously things becoming feature rich, being more complicated. We have more functionality, more services involved, which kind of makes us double down on on quality and on reliability of that. Um, yeah, and at the same time, like if you had a chance to kind of explore, there's like lots of public resources about how about WhatsApp's architecture, about the Erlang, about all of this, kind of Jabber style conversation, like communication, XMPP protocol, and all of that. So this is like really using only using services that you really need, like making sure you're not sending too much of traffic, you're not adding things that are overly complicated, unnecessarily complicated, and yeah, at the same time, having this scalable infrastructure which can handle such immense amount of traffic all around the world, having CDN, having like pretty much leveraging Meta's infrastructure for that. This is really kind of altogether, this works really well, I guess.
Okay. And what would you say is the biggest part of WhatsApp that has the best user retention out of, the voice, the video, and just the core like text messaging aspect?
Mm, yeah, I think like what we try to like. I mean, let's be clear. Like these core services, they were always the kind of the main thing that people are kind of used to, like sending messages over WhatsApp, because you know that, let's say here in the UK, WhatsApp is really popular across audience. Like you can expect many of your friends or connections having WhatsApp installed. This is why it just becomes natural to reach out someone on WhatsApp and just have a group chat, have a conversation. Now with communities, we can see like people grouping together and having more uh, like kind of having discussions around certain areas, like around their school groups, around their like sport clubs and stuff. So this is like this is how it all started. This is like what we retain, and I think this is what we should do. We should continue doing, like being like having as the core part of the product. Of course, like kind of the competitors here force us like nudge us a bit forward with kind of more like with users having more expectations about kind of video calls, like group video calls, right? So this just naturally becomes common sense now that you can just join someone else on the call and have multiple people involved into the conversation.
Okay, so how important is compression over at WhatsApp? As it's used in a wide variety of countries which have, a broad spectrum of internet connectivity. So compression must be a big deal there. Like, how does he handle it? How important is it over there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this certainly makes much more sense where we have like really poor coverage of networks, or really like kind of some of the older network protocols where we can't really afford streaming 4K video or something like. Yeah, certainly voice compression, video compression. I'm not sure I'm able to get into much of details how we kind of adjust this on the go, on the fly. But yeah, like I mean, that's certainly what we use in like in everywhere. Like in everywhere, we have this as a challenge, and given kind of the scale where we operate, where users can just like in some rural areas, users can still rely on WhatsApp, and if you have some sort of internet, you should be able at least to send a message. Of course, if you want to have a video call, this is more demanding, and we cannot really get below the kind of the certain threshold here. So yeah, I mean that's like no question, that's the key part, and I guess to all kinds of formats, video, images. Yeah.
Yeah. So WhatsApp is, free. Has there ever been any discussions internally of creating some sort of pro version? Because I remember when WhatsApp first came out, it was actually paid. I remember when you used to have to actually pay for it on the App Store, and then Facebook changed it to free. So has there ever been any discussion of making some sort of pro version with some sort of subscription model?
Yeah, I guess that was the nice trial where like I think it was like $1 subscription or
It
something.
was,
I
yes,
think
back in the
like
day.
even that time it was kind of, yeah, I think it was kind of optional, but yeah. Anyways, yeah, I mean there is certainly like we discussed lots and lots of options to how it's called, to kind of monetize WhatsApp, right, in a way. But I think one thing is really important to understand, that like there is no, like if we talk about subscription, there is no one fits all model. Like asking $1 here in the UK is one thing, asking for like $1 somewhere in like in other countries might be kind of just nonsense. Like
Yeah, big
users
deal
are
for
not
them.
ready to pay, they don't know why they should pay. Yeah, absolutely, right. And there are certainly other ways to kind of how WhatsApp could become potentially profitable and bring money to Meta. Like one important part of WhatsApp is businesses that can run their business on WhatsApp. Let's say they're super popular in countries like India, like Brazil, Indonesia, where lots of small and medium businesses rely on WhatsApp a lot. That's kind of their only way to run business. In a way, they may not have like a laptop or even email installed, but they will have their WhatsApp and their little shop where they chat to their customers to, like, I don't know, deliver groceries or run like a small bike shop or something. They like given like high user base in those countries, you can expect most of your countries having, most of your customers having WhatsApp installed, and that makes it like super easy for you just to run the business. Of course, they depend a lot on WhatsApp, but WhatsApp at the same time provides lots of opportunities for their businesses to grow. And potentially, this is what we see. I see. I think the main source um, to kind of to monetize. Again, in some countries we have like kind of, just to give a bit of context, like we have different parts of Meta, right? We have Instagram, we have Facebook, and in some countries we have ads that you can run on Instagram and Facebook that would bring users into the WhatsApp, into the conversation on WhatsApp. Certainly, like ad products, they require you paying some money, having some budget for advertising on Instagram and Facebook, but having customers, if you just think of it, right, having customers reaching out to you right in the WhatsApp chat, being really keen to explore more of your products, kind of potentially make a deal straight away. This is really cool, given again how many users have WhatsApp, and just they're just like within a very short reach.
Yeah, so there's, obviously, as you mentioned, there's a bunch of different products. There's Facebook Messenger. There's WhatsApp as well. And has there ever been any internal discussion of unifying those products and just having either it called Messenger or WhatsApp, or making it called WhatsApp Messenger? Like, because obviously you've got two, really big messaging platforms, both owned by the same company, and like, is there any discussion that maybe one is taking away users from the other, and let's just have the one?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's like different parts of it if we unpack it a little bit. So certainly we have like Messenger, which kind of pretty well integrated into Facebook. We have also Instagram Direct, right? We have WhatsApp, and there's a couple of things in terms of potential, well, I hate this word, like synergies where we could have, right? So like unifying those is certainly one of the options, but there is other ways to kind of share some infrastructure, let's say share protocols, share some architecture, sharing some, like having sort of interoperability between those. So yeah, we certainly discussed, and I think like in terms of sharing infra and sharing kind of the practices and architecture, we progressed a lot. And I think that was one of the benefits of like Facebook, now Meta, acquiring WhatsApp and kind of getting those this knowledge, this domain knowledge, this understanding how product works, have a chance to kind of share some of the bits. I haven't heard of anything like getting rid of Messenger or Instagram Direct and leaving just WhatsApp. Uh, that will be quite ambitious thing. But yeah, like certainly there's lots of benefits having all of them under the same umbrella and unifying some pieces of where it's possible.
Yeah. So, talking about some of these other platforms, why does WhatsApp require you to use a phone number to verify, not email? Doesn't seem like there's any technical reason why it can't be done via email, because you've got Facebook that has Facebook Messenger, and that obviously you can register with an email. You've got Instagram, and like say you got Instagram Direct. You can create an Instagram account with an email. So why is it just a legacy thing because that's what was done back in the day and they just kept it, or is there an actual reason why I can't go and create a new WhatsApp account without a different number?
Yeah, I think maybe historically, like if you look how WhatsApp was introduced, it was more like a kind of a free version of SMS, right? You can just install the app and send messages without paying for SMS, or like being requiring certain packet of SMS as like text messages deal. And I think this is where it kind of, the phone number kind of naturally came up, right, as the way to contact people. This is what you used to ask for people in those days, back in the days, right? And we're still there. People still use WhatsApp as the way to message or call people instead of doing kind of call, like general like phone calling, right? Um, Certainly the world has changed a little bit since then, and yeah, like one can ask, why would I need like a phone number? Can I just sign up with email? um, I think we're not quite there to provide this straight away, because there is certainly, given the scale of the product and the infrastructure, there are like lots of pieces that depend on the phone number. This is just kind of the how it was designed, and kind of how it currently operates. And if you think of it, right, like we have like more than like around 8 billion, uh, like uh, so the audience of WhatsApp is about like 2 to 3 million, 2 3 billion users, sorry, around the world, right? And not all of them have email, but all of them have phone numbers, right? Are we ready to kind of move away from phone numbers? What would be the kind of the alternative? How we deal with things where users just go and register lots of fake emails, right? So there are lots of questions in terms of um, kind of privacy and safety, and just general availability of this if we get rid of phone numbers. So yeah, like just to sum up, historical reasons, yeah, just the complexity of the current infrastructure and being like dependent on this phone number, and also just understanding the larger scale of different users, different audiences that we have our product for.
Okay. So, what's the single most important aspect of the user experience for WhatsApp? Like, what's that one thing that's super crucial to WhatsApp to make sure it keeps getting, the users keep coming back, the users keep, using it. Like, what's that single user experience aspect?
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. We usually keep saying we have this like simple, reliable, and private as our principles. If I would pick just one, I think like if we talk about user experience specifically, I think like having a way to communicate with others, that will be the main part. Be it like sending a message, making a call, making a video call, or something like sending a push to talk message, something like this. Just the way like WhatsApp as the vehicle to communicate to others. WhatsApp like providing this way to communicate to others. Yeah, I think I would choose this one.
Okay. Yeah, because for me personally, it's the speed of it. How fast, it works. And like I was saying, it just generally it just works because there's been so many. Often I'll use Facebook or Facebook Messenger, and it'll just not be working properly. There'll just be,
Mm.
there'll just be something on, and I think I never have an equivalent issue like that with WhatsApp. So the speed of it when I click the icon and it loads up fast. It's like Amazon is for retail. It just loads up fast. There's very little time for me to even reconsider using something else because it just opens and I'm like, oh, I'm ready to go.
Mm.
So
Nice.
yeah, what does WhatsApp think about alternatives like Signal and Telegram?
Yeah, I mean, let's be clear. I think we treat them as obviously as competitors on the market, and we yeah, like we embrace fair competition. And as the products get bigger and feature rich, we have to kind of deal with this, like acknowledge this, and understand how we can like provide the same level of quality, the same level of features for our users, and the same experience. So yeah.
Okay. Uh, how does, in your opinion, WhatsApp's security compare to something like Signal? Because Signal is, held up as a shining example of really good, security, and it's had, the thumbs up by people like Edward Snowden. So, how does WhatsApp security compare to that? Do you think? And what's WhatsApp's stance on security versus the other aspects of WhatsApps in terms of it being fast, it being accessible, etc. Because WhatsApp is definitely probably the most user friendly. Having used Telegram and Signal and some other ones as well, but those two as alternatives, I can definitely say that WhatsApp has the best user experience, and you can also tell those other ones have introduced features that make it more like WhatsApp. So there's something that WhatsApp's definitely doing well that they want to replicate. But how do you think the security compares?
Yeah, I see. I think like personally, if we think of those like three apps, right? So Signal has lots of things on top of, let's say, end-to-end encryption. They have like additional security features with. I don't know. I don't want to get like into very specific detail of Signal and all of the features, but yeah, they certainly have something on top in terms of like additional privacy, additional security. I think with secret groups, like with like hiding your number everywhere, like in all of the groups and conversations, communications. Uh, I think WhatsApp hits the kind of the balance, the middle ground with having all necessary capabilities like end-to-end encryption, like necessary privacy settings, privacy controls that users might want to have, like being able to like hide your details in groups, kind of control where you want to be added to the groups, where you want to be, like if you have some uh, kind of risks or threats coming from other users, you can easily report and block them. Like disappearing messages, view once messages. These are kind of the most demanded features that users ask for. Um, on Telegram side, I think like there are certainly some concerns around chats not being end-to-end encrypted. Of course, we can. I mean, of course, there's like secret chats that you can create if you know what you're doing, right? If you really want to start this conversation prior, like with kind of with security maxed out. Whereas just WhatsApp does this, it just does by default because we know like end-to-end encryption is really important. Um, yeah, someone can say like Telegram has some nice and shiny features with like stickers, with like some interactive things, and they do this quite well. And if we talk about the balance, I think this is where WhatsApp is. Um, my personal, like, if you ask me, okay, Signal, what about Signal? It has like lots of things on top in terms of security and privacy, right? But I think this is where it becomes maybe too much because I don't know, like maybe that's not really common in Western countries, but if you're like, if someone like looking through a phone, I don't know, maliciously or not, they see Signal app, what they think of you, like, is it, are you like some, I don't know, some hacker, some weird guy that's using Signal? You must be using it for reason. Whereas WhatsApp doesn't have this problem. I mean, like more than 2 billion users have WhatsApp installed. What could be the questions related to that? Whereas, uh, uh, yeah, yeah, I think, yeah, I think this is how I describe this. Certainly, that's just my personal biased opinion on this.
Yeah, I'm always a bit shocked when I come across someone that uses Signal. So, because when similar to WhatsApp, you can go in the contacts and see who has Signal, and I'm like, oh, that person has Signals. And sometimes I have that, even though I use it myself as an alternative to WhatsApp. It's my SMS, application, and also the security application that I use with the odd person that I know use it, because there's most people that don't want to use it. So obviously I have to use WhatsApp or Messenger or something, with them. But when I do come across someone, I'm like, why does that person have it? Why do they need it? Like, even I like, this is someone that's technically minded as me, that has it, that is concerned for security. Even I get that feeling. I was like, how do they know about it? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, sometimes I think like that. But I mean, it's possible that somebody's installed it on their phone for them, because I do like that you can just use it as an SMS client as well. But they're removing that, so I'm having to find an alternative to Signal, which is a bit annoying.
yeah.
So WhatsApp and Facebook, get a lot of bad press sometimes. How do you feel about that? Do you think it's warranted? How does WhatsApp and, let's say, Facebook as a whole feel about it internally?
Yeah, I mean, like personally, I feel this a bit upsetting and maybe unfair that we get so much of bad press, and but maybe that's just something we have to accept as the matter of fact. I mean, like I personally think of myself, obviously, but that's just I don't know, some newspapers, some like news agencies looking after, some some clickbait or some like big news where they want just to get more users visiting their newspaper website or something. I don't know. And given the scale of a brand, like everyone knows Meta, maybe not everyone knows Meta, but everyone heard of Facebook or WhatsApp, right? And this is why when you have like big names like this in the title and you have something about this just naturally attracts people. Maybe this is why like so many newspapers look after this. I don't think this is fair. I mean, the way like Wall Street Journal, let's say, describes certain events is 100% fair and unbiased. But I mean, come on, it's really hard to expect newspapers to be unbiased and fair, right? Nowadays.
Yeah, especially when it's so much about clickbait, getting people hooked to it, and what's better than negative press. That's what gets people riled up. It's what gets people clicking, and obviously as a result, looking at ads which pay for the ad dollars for
Yeah.
these companies. So yeah, that is a big issue with these media outlets. And on top of that, because you've got Facebook, that maybe some of the things were fair that they said at one point, but because it's become that company that's it's easy to vilify them, and everyone just takes it, accepts it. It's just an easy way to just say something and do it again and again, because nobody really says anything. Whereas there's probably certain companies out there that if you say about them, people will be like, "Why are you saying it about that company?" Even if it's fair, just because that company has a different connotation and a different it's respected and seen as different compared to Facebook, as a result. Because I remember when Facebook bought Oculus, for almost about 10 years ago now. I remember a lot of friends of mine, they hated that Facebook bought it. I remember asking them, they didn't really have a good enough reason. And I remember thinking, as long as they don't shelve it, like I know Facebook does do with some products that they buy, as long as they don't shelve it, and I didn't feel like they would shelve something that unique. They wouldn't buy just to shelve it. It seemed like they was actually going to do something with it, and yeah, they have. They released Rift, they released the Quest headsets, the cheaper ones, and I don't think they would have been able to do everything that they've done with the Quest headset, especially the cheaper ones, without the immense resources that Facebook has put behind them. And being able to develop that app store, there's probably elements of them having the application and the games that they had on Facebook, bringing those expertise on there, the communication aspects, the messaging, all that sort of stuff they've brought over, and I'm sure they've brought expertise over to WhatsApp that has made it go from whatever user base it had before Facebook to the user base it has now, and how stable it is to use, like you were saying, Meta's infrastructure as well, because they have their own server system that they created before the likes of AWS and Google Cloud were a thing. So they have a solid structure and foundation to build off.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how many employees does WhatsApp have, and how many of those are developers, would you say?
Wow. I might not have like exact numbers, but I think like the two larger sites we have, like the engineering sites, is certainly MPK, Menlo Park, California, and London side. So we have lots of engineers here. I think like hundreds of engineers in both sides. Like the London office in particular, we have like also satellite remote offices around Europe that where we closely collaborate. Um, yeah, like hundreds of engineers, and yeah, I think it does answer your question.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, because it feels like it's a much smaller scale to, Facebook and all the things they're doing, and even Oculus. But obviously, and I feel like obviously a big part of WhatsApp will be developers, because ultimately they're going to have, user experience, user UI designers, etc. But I think the focus is obviously on the coding, is on the tech, and making sure that's as solid as possible, making sure that's working as well as possible as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think like WhatsApp still preserves this kind of, I would say, quite unique trait if we look at the kind of ratio of developers compared to the users that we serve. So I think this still stays quite unique to WhatsApp.
Okay. So, is there any crossover between WhatsApp and other Meta products with, the employees and teams?
Yeah, I mean, we have collaboration around different areas. In terms of like support, we have like we explore some ways to kind of to collaborate to share some infra, share some platforms, ways of working. There is like massive collaboration in terms of privacy because I guess as many of our audience aware, we have like certain privacy complications associated with meta, like more like different like governments and kind of regulators are kind of looking at meta and WhatsApp specifically, how we share users data, whether we share this or not. Do we really, is it really the thing that we don't share WhatsApp user data with meta, and like doing like running some audits, like doing like some like investigations, and trying to find the ways where we actually do this or not, and just trying to figure this out. So in terms of privacy, we also collaborate closely, but this is just to make sure we do things right and we comply with what we say publicly, with our public statements. And when these like audits and everything come into place, we do so effectively. And because if you imagine like doing a privacy audit at the meta scale, it's a huge thing, and this is where like this wouldn't be just possible without collaborating on this. So I think, yeah, privacy is another big thing where we share lots of things in terms
Okay.
of ways of working.
Is your role remote?
um, it's not strictly remote, I would say. It's more like a hybrid, so I come to the office like couple of like a few times a week. It just depends week by week. We have actually remote capabilities, so some of our folks work like 100% remote, and seems like they're enjoying it.
No, that's good stuff. And what's WhatsApp's and I guess Facebook's overall stance on remote working? Because I know a lot of other companies, they did it. I mean, they weren't that for it before Corona. Then during Corona, they had to do it to survive and keep working. And then afterwards, they had it for a while, but some companies are wanting people to come back into the office, even though people have seen that they can work from home. They enjoying the aspect, removing, let's say, one and a half hour commute in the morning, then the evening, that's like 2 3 hour of commute gone. Not having to get ready is probably another hour gone, and probably being able to cook at home as well. So there's definitely a huge set of benefits for working at home. So how is WhatsApp stance on that?
Yeah, I think like WhatsApp and Meta in general, I think the fair way would be to describe this like we embrace it, and it's not just we try to preserve what employees had during Corona time and where everyone had to work remotely. We try to make it sustainable so people are comfortable with, kind of on the both sides, right? Because if you imagine, if you are in the office, you're sitting in the room, you have a nice conversation, and people on the call may just feel a bit kind of not included into the conversation. So we have kind of just general culture to include those people, to have to have tooling, to have all necessary tooling to run video conferencing, to do this in VR, and like we use our own devices like Oculus to, you can join like the meeting in Oculus, and like this, I think this is like really cool, and this provides even more ways to be kind of a part of a conversation. So like I think this is like really great that we not just preserve this, but we try to understand, okay, how can we bring this to the next level, how can we make both remote people and kind of people in the office, and have sort of a hybrid model available. I think we also expanded the number of countries where we kind of allow people to work remotely from, because obviously there is like, given the scale of the company, there are so many different countries, different legislations, different rules and stuff. So it's kind of a bit complicated to allow everyone around the world, but at least we try to kind of provide as much flexibility as it's reasonable.
Do you get many, colleagues and employees that put on an Oculus headset for the meetings? I've always wondered about that.
Yeah, I think like we have some of the people I know, they occasionally join meetings like in VR. Like I personally uh, don't do this because yeah, I feel like I'm a bit like old school, old tech in this way. I don't even have an Oculus device at home. Shame on me.
Fair enough. What's it actually like working on WhatsApp? Day to day, what's the experience like? How does it compare to other companies you've worked at in the past?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's such a broad question. I don't know where to start. I think like generally it depends. Well, it very much depends on your role and what you're doing. Like as a software engineer, obviously we do write code. We do collaborate on like on design, on like technical discussion, on like writing some documents to kind of document the design and like do some nice diagrams and yeah, make sure we're kind of all aligned, all on the same page. Um, yeah, it's really hard to find something really special about that. Like compared to my previous experiences, um, yeah, like writing code still stays, writing documents still stays, joining meetings and conversations kind of also the same. Um, yeah, I think like we try to use, we try to respect more of people's focus time. This is something that I found really maybe not unique, but something valid here more than in the other places. Like respecting people's longer focus blocks that kind of let everyone to sit and do some thorough thinking, or like churn huge amount of code and like yield something really cool that wouldn't be possible in just like in half an hour between two meetings or something. Um, yeah, like having a bit more flexibility, I think that's also the thing. Like if you are comfortable starting your day at 12 p.m., well, why don't you just do this? Of course, respecting like other colleagues. If let's say if the entire team have conversations in the morning, like you jumping in the afternoon and missing all of that, that wouldn't be very nice of you. But if you find the ways to kind of to kind of to align with this, um, I think like cross-border work makes things somewhat more complicated. But again, um, I mean, just considering like that Meta has offices all around the world. Like if you take like Singapore, London, and MPK, there will be quite a massive time difference. It will be really hard to make a meeting with folks from all of the three offices, I imagine. But yeah, I think the way that the org structure is organized and the way that collaboration is happening, like most of our colleagues that they are either in the like in the European time zones or like in the US, but we kind of always have some overlap where we could have some collaboration, some meetings, some like synchronous conversation or something. Which is again, I don't think this is anywhere unique to like to Meta or to WhatsApp specifically.
Okay. So as Facebook created, React, is the current version of WhatsApp made using React?
Mm, we use React for not really WhatsApp app, but on our Web Help Center we have some bits in React. So it's kind of WhatsApp, but not the WhatsApp app. Well, technically, you can load the help center in the web view, so it kind of becomes in the app. Which, I mean, yeah, we kind of do use React in WhatsApp, but not for the app itself. I don't know; it's really complicated.
So why? I mean, why do you think that is? Because obviously Facebook has React. React is used by a lot of developers around the world. It's a pretty robust framework. They're actively developing it. The community is actively developing it. Why do you think it is? And a follow up question: what is WhatsApp created in? Or what technologies? What language? What framework?
Yeah, I think like just again, just like historically how WhatsApp was created, it was just I think developed around like the same principles that I already mentioned a few times, like that like bringing in the framework like React into the app is um, something that would be a massive change, massive shift in terms of like the ways of working for like for developers. Let's say if we talk about React Native, like ramping up with like making everyone to ramp up with React Native is quite a high thing, high investment, and also kind of reworking the entire product to stick with a React Native is also quite a challenge. I think like also if we talk about our larger user base, like having React Native based app distributed all around the world and making sure that it all works on all kinds of devices that we support, including some old versions of Android, some old versions of like of phones that our users have. Would we be able to provide the same quality of kind of the same reliability, the same capabilities in terms of like like compression, the same protocols. How would we balance this having something in native versus having something in React, right? So all sorts of there are like so many dimensions that where we need to kind of think thoroughly. Um, I wouldn't say this is impossible, but this really needs to be quite a uh, there should be certain value in this, right? Not just like use the framework that Meta uses like elsewhere. Um, I think the second part of your question was what specific technology WhatsApp is kind
And
of
lang
bringing.
programming language, etc.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was just about to answer this. I think like probably WhatsApp is the biggest user of Erlang language and the infrastructure built around this, which is still a thing. And we still rely a lot on it. And I guess the core principles, how the language was just designed and the infrastructure around this was designed, I think this is a very nice fit for WhatsApp. And I don't know. Again, there must be some really strong reason to step away from this onto something else and like rework WhatsApp to use. I don't know, some other language.
Fair enough. So, what is your ideal coding setup? What does it look like in terms of, monitors, vertical monitors, IDEs, text editors, that sort of stuff?
Oh, I'm a super boring person in this regard. So I use VS Code for coding. I use like a single monitor that I'm having in front of me right now. That's like 32-inch bank. I use Logitech MX case and the same mouse from the same kind of set. Just a typical chair, and yeah, also I use a standing desk. So I kind of have a separate laptop stand nearby where I kind of switch between sitting and standing, so I could have a bit of a movement throughout the day and kind of. I usually join meetings when I'm standing from the laptop and spend most of the time in front of the monitor. But again, it's like super boring.
Fair enough. And did you go to university? If so, what did you study?
Yeah, I I went to university and I got my specialist degree. This is kind of neither bachelor neither or master. It's something in between. That's kind of was a common thing in some Eastern European countries where I'm from. I went further and I got PhD. It's not really the exact PhD. It's like the PhD equivalent that we had. It's called like candidate of sciences. So I was studying kind of what we would call computer science nowadays. Yeah, I think that's the closest equivalent. Maybe a bit more into mathematics and algebra and stuff like that.
Okay, fair enough. And what would be your biggest regret in your development journey? And follow up question: what advice would you give to others looking to get into the industry and work for a established company like WhatsApp? Because I hear it a lot. I want to work for Google. I want to work for Facebook. I want to work for Disney. Like, what advice would you give? And what's been your biggest regret in your journey so far?
Yeah, I have hard time regretting. I mean, I'm not usually I'm trying not to regret about things in the past because everything had a reason. This is what kind of I'm believing in. That I try to learn from past experiences, either good or bad, and understand how can I kind of become a better person and take lessons pretty much from this. Um, I think yeah, if you asked me what would I change in my past, in my previous kind of developer journey, maybe I would say like code more in some periods of my life, of my career, where like there were moments where I kind of went into this like tech lead journey and almost stopped coding for quite some time. And I it was quite a surprise that I how quickly uh, I started to lose like kind of the grasp in coding. And I was still like taking part in code reviews and like in like some technical like in system design discussion, but being hands on with the coding, I think this is like this is quite important. And um, yeah, I think that was quite a thing that I would change maybe. In terms of like giving advice to young people who are just about to start with the industry, if you have a chance, get an internship with any company as early as you can while you are at uni. This would build you tons of connections that would give you tons of practical knowledge and exposure to how companies work, how work on the like software products or systems, and just generally understand how things get done outside of your like IDE, and outside of some pet projects. Yeah, I would say that's something I wish I had in the past, but I didn't have it. Maybe I haven't thought of this much at my days back in uni. But yeah, that's something I see like folks who join Meta, WhatsApp for internship, they get so much in this like 12 weeks of internship, let's say. It's so intense, but they I think they thrive. They get lots of practical knowledge, they get lots of connections, they get lots of excitement about what we can do, where we can go in the future, what are the kind of the technologies being available. And I think the best part that you're not really locked for a long period of time. You can just next year you can go to another company and just keep changing things. And it's a bit harder to do when you have like established life, when you kind of become more like a adult and start to having like a family, some commitments, some obligations, where you cannot really just join and work for fun or something.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So that's all my more specific WhatsApp questions. I've got some fun generic questions that I like to always ask at the end. Would you rather run a 10-person company or a 1,000-person company, and why?
Hmm. I think I would start with 10-person company and grow it to 1,000-person company. I mean, it's not really. I think I would choose whatever helps me to get to the goal. I would consider starting a company if I wanted to do, like, if I want to kind of achieve certain goal and like in bringing new product to the market, like doing something that I really wanted to have, like making an app that I really wanted to use for myself. And if this needs just 10%, well, that's cool. Let's start with 10%. If this needs to grow or like has a chance to grow globally and become like a worldwide thing that helps like millions of people around the world, well, we'll probably need like a bit more than 10%, like maybe 100 or maybe up to 1,000 or maybe even more, right? So I think it's not kind of set in stone.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Would you rather have 5 million? So you're in the UK, so let's go with British pounds. Would you rather have £5 million up front or half a million a year for the rest of your life?
Hmm. Yeah, I think like I would take something up front and try to grow this into more than this amount of money. But again, it kind of depends on the goal. Sorry, I feel like I'm trying to evade the good answers to questions. But yeah, like I think there's still value in like taking something and growing into something, like making it better and yeah, making it a bigger thing. I think like having something granted till the end of your life is a bit misleading. That it makes you feel like way too relaxed that you have some guaranteed income, whereas having something for a start and has a like having an opportunity to kind of evolve into something that makes it a bit more of a fun game. That's for me.
Okay. So, what's your favorite board game if you're into board games?
Yeah, I'm not much into board games, but I have some favorites. I really like Ticket to Ride. It's yeah, just generally I like travel and like Ticket to Ride Europe. I think yeah, that's just like good way to explore geography a little bit, understand how different countries could be connected, different ways of travel, and I think that's also uh, every time you play, you find some interesting kind of makes you kind of think about potentially your next journey or something like this.
Okay. I mean, I've never heard of that game. I've just had a quick Google. I'm gonna check that out. I'm probably gonna watch some YouTube videos on it because I'm always looking for a good new board game. It's
Yeah,
not that we've got plenty already, but we're looking for another one for the collection.
yeah, check it out.
Yeah. So, what's your favorite video game? Again, if you're into video games.
I think I'm not playing video games for a couple years by now. The last one I played was a Pass of Exile, which was kind of a uh, I don't know if that's the fair way to describe it. Kind of a spin-off from Diablo, to that kind of preserves a bit of the same theme, that kind of you're going like slashing some of the nasty monsters and stuff, and kind of has a bit of a expanded tree how you can like grow your character and like try out different paths. This is, I guess, this is where the name from. Um, the one that really consumed lots of my time in teenage was World of Warcraft. Yeah, I spent like hours and hours playing in it every day with friends. And yes, the game grew and new expansions were added. This became just worse and worse. But until I quit at some point.
Fair enough. Not much into gaming these days. Concentrating on, work, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I would like, if you ask me what I would try next, I think I would pick Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's like it's in my bucket list when I don't know when I retire if it's still going to be a thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's been going on forever, the flight simulator game. So I don't think they're going away anytime soon. And I love that you can get the Microsoft Game Pass, and you can get these great games. You get Halo, you get Flight Simulator, you got Atomic Heart now, and you get so many great titles
Mm.
on there. Forza just for free. So you don't even have to invest that much into the software side. You can just get the Game Pass,
Yeah.
and you get a lot of value, which is good for people that aren't the hardcore gamers or not that hardcore anymore. They're going to jump into it now and again, and they don't want to be spending 50, 60, 70, maybe even $100, or like 60, 70 quid every single time just to try a game out, and they might not like it. With the Game Pass, you gain so many great games. You gain Stalker 2 when that comes out, and so many other great titles.
Yeah, sounds cool.
Final question, or a question that I always love asking everyone: does money buy you happiness, and why? And on top of that, what does a good life mean to you?
Yeah, that's a great one to have in the end. Yeah, I think like the first part, does money buy you happiness? I personally treat money more like a resource that you sometimes need more of, like sometimes you need less of it. It gives you a certain level of happiness until it stops being doing so. I don't know, like when you have like the way I um, kind of think of this, when you don't have money and you just like you have some basic necessities that you have to cover. This is why you're looking very much for this. You cover this, you cover that. Once you kind of working all the way up, this just becomes no longer um, kind of no longer essential, but this becomes more like a resource to like for joy, to like get you something more, something maybe there's something that you wanted, something that you just um, yeah, something that you always wanted but couldn't get. And once you get to this, maybe this doesn't give you much that you, because situation changed, something you wanted like ages before no longer interesting you now, so it doesn't really make you happy at this point. Maybe it makes, but just a little bit, and maybe not compared to the uh, resources, not compared to the investment that you put in to get this money. So it's not always the case.
Yeah.
um, what was the second part?
What does a good life mean to you?
Oh wow. um, yeah, like I struggle to understand what good means, but I guess just generally, um, like whatever you think happy, whatever makes you happy, whatever makes you kind of um, satisfied of things that you are doing, like achieving goals, just yeah, because it's really hard, right? Everyone has their own orienteers, their own goals, their own dreams, and I think for me, that's just making sure that things that I want to happen, that can make them happen. So it's something that I started a long time ago, that I can kind of deliver, that I get to this, that I can make happen. That I like the long, like I'm kind of progressing on my longer path, on my longer term goals, and kind of towards kind of hitting the goals. Yeah, I think.
Fair enough. So that's all, the questions that I have for the podcast today. I just want to thank you for taking the time, Vlad, for coming onto the podcast. I know I've learned a lot about, how WhatsApp works, its stance on stuff, and the technologies that it uses. I didn't know it uses Erlang, even though it's something I probably could Google, but it wasn't something that comes to mind. It's not a language that I would immediately think a leading messaging application with billions of users uses, but it's obviously nice to learn about that. So thank you for coming on. And everyone that is listening, check out WhatsApp. I'm sure you have already used it, and you can see Vlad's work. And I'll see you in the next episode of FireDEV. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you.